Let's create frosted glass like you've never seen before without using harsh chemicals. In this video, we're pushing the boundaries of creativity and taking frosted glass to a whole new level. Hi, my crafty friends. I'm Donna from Mason Creations, etc., and welcome to my channel. So if you're ready to do this, let's make a mess, my friends, and let the frosted glass magic begin. This wooden canvas can be used as a canvas or a shadow box, and we're going to use it as a shadow box today. There are a few gaps that I'm going to fill in with texture paste and let it dry for about an hour. This and all the products you're going to see me use today came from decoupagenapkins.com, my wonderful sponsors. The texture paste is dry, and I'm going to give this a quick sanding with a medium grit sandpaper. I'm making sure to sand any rough edges and sand the dried texture paste smooth. Once I'm done sanding, I'll wipe it off with a soft cloth and brush out any residual dust in the corners. I'm using Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Cotton to paint the very back of the board. I'll be decoupaging some rice paper there, so I need the background to be white. Make sure you always paint white or a very light off-white wherever you're going to decoupage rice paper or a napkin. White allows the colors in your images to look more vibrant. Dark colors will make your images look dark and muddy. I'm going to paint the rest of the board with Pentart Pine Green. This is a really pretty dark green and blends beautifully with the rice paper I intend to use. I'm sure you guys have noticed that I use a lot of Dixie Belle and Pentart paints. These are my absolute favorites. They both go on super smooth and creamy with really good coverage. I rarely, if ever, need a second coat of Pentart, and that goes for the metallic colors as well. Such pretty rice paper with all those birch trees and the beautifully colored flowers. This is going to be the backdrop for some frosted dragonflies. I'm measuring the rice paper and cutting it to fit the inside of the shadow box. I normally tear my rice paper, but in this instance I need the picture to fit from edge to edge inside this box. So I had to break out the scissors. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. It's fun to see what cities and countries you are all watching from. I'm filming from Las Vegas, Nevada in the United States. It's time to decoupage this image in my shadow box. I'm using Polyvine's Decorator's Varnish as my decoupage adhesive today. You can use this product as a varnish and an adhesive. All the Polyvine formulas can double as a decoupage adhesive. It works so much better than the most popular brand of decoupage glue. It's not a glue, so it doesn't go on thick and lumpy. It's a varnish, so it dries crystal clear and will never yellow. My crafty friend Nikki J requested a project using glass frosting and stencils. Here you go, Nikki. This video is for you. I put it on as an adhesive and then another coat on top. I cut a piece of plastic from a Ziploc bag, sprayed it with some water, then laid it on the image and smoothed out any wrinkles or bubbles with a paper towel through the plastic. When doing this, make sure you always wet the plastic first, or it will stick to your rice paper or napkin, pulling it off. I'm using Polyvine Heavy Duty Wood Varnish to seal the inside of my shadow box, as I'll be closing it up shortly. I'm using an antiquing wax in the color soot to add some shadows in all the corners and around all the edges. This will give your project an old, distressed appearance. I'm applying it with a brush and wiping off any excess with a soft, dry cloth. DecoupageNapkins.com has such a great selection of napkins that you can purchase one at a time. They carry many other craft supplies such as rice paper, paint, clay, molds, and a great selection of polyvine products. Over 9,000 products and growing. They are wonderful to work with and will send your order out fast. You'll receive free shipping on orders over $75 and special bonus points for orders over $100. Subscribe to their newsletter by entering your email address and you'll receive 10% off your next order. They are truly your one-stop shop for craft supplies. Make sure you check them out. I'll be leaving links for all the products I use in my description box below. I'm measuring a piece of craft plastic to fit over the shadow box. I'm using craft plastic, but you can use a piece of glass or plexiglass. I marked it and now I'm cutting it with a pair of scissors. This stencil has a bunch of dragonflies on it. I have my stencil taped to the clear window that will go over the shadow box. I'm going to create some frosted glass butterflies using polyvine acrylic glass frosting. This creates an etched or frosted glass effect with no harmful chemicals. It's water-based, so there are no bad smells or harmful fumes. Also, since it's water-based, you can clean up with soap and water. I'm using a stencil brush developed by Polyvine. I'm dipping the brush in the frosting and removing most of it on the bottle edge, then removing even more on a napkin. I'm working in a circular motion. You don't want to put a lot on your brush to avoid bleeding under the stencil. You can repeat the process if you need to. This is for interior use, but it is quite durable. If you do this on a window or mirror, it will need to dry 2 to 4 hours and then can be cleaned with soap and water. You won't be able to use harsh chemicals to clean the window, such as a window cleaner. This product is so amazing and durable that it was used in the Museum of London on a glass case. Once I was done, I removed the stencil. This is so pretty. If you missed any little areas, you can use a very tiny paintbrush and very lightly add the frosting where needed. I let that dry for about an hour, and now I'm going to glue this to my shadow box. I'm using a hot glue gun to attach it. I'm going to be adding some clay embellishments, so I'm not concerned about the glue showing through the plastic. If you're enjoying this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. And why not share this with a friend? Thanks for doing that. You won't want to miss any of the new projects coming up, so don't forget to subscribe. I'm using DOS clay to make some embellishments for the frame edges. DOS is one of my favorites. It's easy to work with and has very little shrinkage when drying. This mold has some branches on it, which will be perfect for the perimeter of the frame. I'm adding clay to the mold and scraping off the excess with a palette knife, then smoothing it out with a little bit of water. I'll put this in the freezer for at least 20 minutes to make unmolding easier. Watch how easy these pop out of the mold when frozen. I usually smooth out the edges of the clay a little bit. Since I'm going to bend them to fit my frame, I'll need them to thaw out for just a few minutes. I'm using Aleene's tacky glue to attach all my clay pieces on the shadow box while the clay is still wet. This way they can dry conforming to the shape of the box. If any glue seeps out from under the clay, I'm removing it right away with a Q-tip. I also made some leaves with the DOS clay, and I'm putting them here and there on the branches. I'm placing them as asymmetrically as I can. In art, this is more pleasing to the eye. You never want one side to be exactly the same as the other. If you want to see an in-depth video on how to work with air dry clay, click the banner in the top right corner of your screen. I'll also leave you a link for that video in my description box below. I'm using Pentart paint in the color black to paint all the branches. I'm going to try as hard as I can to make them look like the birch trees in the image. I'm being very careful not to get any paint on my clear plastic. I test all the products that I recommend in my videos. I won't recommend anything that I haven't used myself and prefer. If I'm recommending it, you can bet it's a great product. Each product will be listed in my description box below and will have a blue link to make it easy for you to find. Any of the links I provide are safe for you to click on. The branches need some texture, so I'm mixing Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color cotton with some 3D powder. This is wonderful for creating some really cool texture. I just started using this product recently and I just love it. I put some paint in a little cup and then added some of the powder. I kept adding it until I got the thickness I wanted. I'm using a stiff brush to add this to the tree branches. I'm kind of tapping it on. It's pretty thick, so you really can't brush it on. I'm not going around the sides, mostly just on top. The black around all the edges will serve in adding some depth and dimension to those branches. I'm working on some great spring projects right now. A lot of them are requests that I'm excited to be making. I love planning projects around your requests. Just please be patient. I get quite a few of them, and I get the projects out as quickly as I can. I love hearing about what you'd like to see, so keep those requests coming. While that's drying, I'm going to start painting all the leaves. I'm going to go back to the branches with more texture shortly. I'm using 3 different colors: pine green, leaf green, and vintage green. After I got all the tops of the leaves, I started doing all the detail around the edges. Small dots of paint will just scrape off using something with a dull edge. Nothing sharp or you'll scratch the plastic. I'm going to do some dry brushing on the leaves with the different colors. I'm brushing leaf green over the dark pine green leaves. To dry brush, you're going to get just a small amount of paint on just the tip of your brush. Scrape most of it off on the edge of the paint container, and then wipe more of the paint off on a paper towel. You want almost nothing on your brush. Now you will just lightly drag the tip of your brush over the top. This will highlight all the detail from your clay mold. I'm brushing yellow over the vintage green leaves. Yellow-red clay and a little bit of yellow are going over the bright leaf green leaves. Some of the leaves in the rice paper image have a little fall orange color to them, so I wanted to match that. Okay, time for more texture on those branches. I'm adding the 3D powder to my black paint. I'm adding quite a bit this time because I want it to be really thick. This is going to apply very thick and chunky, which will really give that tree bark look. And now, some more of the white. I actually went back and forth with the two colors until I was happy with the way it looked. The trees in the image appear to have a little brown in the bark as well as the black, so here comes paint in the color earthy brown. I used it to create some shadows between the branches and the leaves, as well as a little bit on the branches. Then just a smidge more white and some of the earthy brown to add some dark lines on the branches. I'm going to be doing some antiquing on the leaves, so I'm giving them a coat of the heavy-duty wood varnish in the satin finish. When antiquing, you need to have a shiny surface. 2 or 3 coats of this gives you a beautiful shine that's moisture and high heat resistant, as well as high chemical resistant, high stain resistant, high abrasion resistant, and food safe. This works wonderful on any painted or decoupage surface or shiny surface that has been coated with polyvinyl multi-surface lacquer. I let that dry for an hour between each coat and an hour after the final coat. I've had a few people ask me if this varnish has a strong smell. No, it does not. It's water-based, so there are no harmful fumes at all. It's only the solvent-based varnishes that have any fumes. I'm using polyvinyl heavy-duty wood varnish in a dead flat finish for the tree branches. I don't want them to have a shine at all. They need to have a matte finish on them. I let all the varnish dry for an hour, and now it's time to mix up some antique. I'm mixing a glazing medium with some light brown paint. I put in just a tiny bit of paint and about a half a teaspoon of the glazing medium, along with a squirt of water. I'm brushing it on the leaves and then dabbing it with a soft dry cloth. I don't want this to run over onto my clear plastic, so I'm doing it very carefully and dabbing the paint right away before it has a chance to run. I love mixing up my own antique. I can use any color of paint that matches my project. You can get really inventive with antique colors and create some outstanding combinations. The antique will settle into all the indentations from the mold and give each leaf some definition. This will take them from flat looking to 3D. I let the antique dry for a couple of hours and then gave my entire piece 2 coats of the heavy-duty wood varnish in the satin finish, letting it dry for an hour between each coat. Okay, if you follow me regularly, you know that this is going to be my favorite part of the project. I'm going to add some gold wax to the edges of all the leaves. I just love adding gold to my projects. I'm using decor wax in the color Eternal. I normally put this on with my finger, but that can be kind of messy and I don't want to get any of this on my clear plastic. So I'm putting it on with a small brush. I have more control this way and can be more precise with my application. You don't need to put more varnish over the gold. It shines beautifully on its own. If you go to purchase this and it says out of stock, just click the Notify Me button and you'll get an email just as soon as it comes in. If you don't want to wait for it to come back in stock, you can purchase Gilder's Wax as a replacement. I'll leave links for both. This is a solvent-based product, so you'll need to clean your brush with mineral spirits. All the other products you've seen me use today will clean up with soap and water. I get a lot of questions about how I clean my brushes after all the products I'm using. I use Speedball pink soap for brushes. I'll leave you a link in my description box below. It works really well. It seems to remove paint you didn't even know was still in your brush. I think you'll like it. Don't forget, all of the wonderful products I'm using can be found at my favorite place for craft supplies, decoupagenapkins.com, and I'll leave you links in my description box below. I put together a playlist of some other tutorials you may enjoy. Click the picture on the right to be taken directly to that playlist. I'm so happy you were here with me today, and thanks so much for watching. I can't wait to see you all next week. I'm working on a new project with you in mind. You can subscribe by clicking my picture in the top right corner.